Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing wild ways your ex shows their interest. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.datetome.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing wild ways your ex shows their interest. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will want to know the signs of your ex being interested in you. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 ways that your ex can show their interest that you might not expect. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is apologize for something they haven't even done. Now, just to let you know that in today's podcast, I'm going to be speaking about ways that your ex, the dumper, might show their interest in you, the dumpee, in ways that you might not expect, wild ways, but these are ways which are absolutely real. These are ways that I've heard numerous times people tell me about. So if you hear something in today's podcast, this isn't something that maybe happened once. This has happened multiple times that I've heard about, okay? So these are, yes, they might be somewhat unusual, but they're absolutely real, genuine possibilities, and possibilities for you dumpees to be looking out for, because a dumper is very unlikely indeed to reach out to you and say, hey, I really miss you, can we get back together? That is not likely to be the case. They're much more likely to contact you in a way which is very much an indirect, direct approach. It's indirect because they're not actually telling you the real reason they're making contact, but it is direct because it is directly to you. That's why we call it the indirect, direct approach. Now, I've said in previous podcasts, but sometimes a dumper will reach out and they might say something such as, hey, have you seen your favorite movies on TV tomorrow? Something really pointless, but you're thinking, why on earth is my ex telling me this? Okay, that is an example of an indirect, direct approach. But today we're speaking about wild ways, crazy ways which are a lot more unusual, but still ways which I've heard numerous times before in different scenarios. And point number 1 is apologizing for something that they haven't even done. And now I'm going to give you an example of a situation that I've been made aware of which fits into this category. And this is where a dumpee suddenly received a text from her ex-dumper a long time post-breakup. I believe it was around the year mark. So we're talking a good chunk of time post-breakup. There's been no contact whatsoever. And then the dumpee receives a text from the dumper saying, I'm really sorry, I just gave you a missed call. It was an accident. I wasn't meaning to call you. Now at this stage, the dumpee checks their call log and realises they've had no missed calls whatsoever. They're thinking, well, this is really strange. I've had no missed calls, so why am I receiving a text apologising for a missed call? So the dumpee then responds in a very innocent kind of way and say, hey, thanks for letting me know, but I never actually had a missed call, no worries. At which point the dumper then responds further and not only says, oh, thank you for saying that or whatever, but then asks how the dumpee is doing. So they transition the conversation from initially apologising for something they hadn't even done, and when the dumpee responded and just said, okay, that's fine, it's a bit random or whatever, the dumper then responds to them, basically saying in their own words, asking how they are, trying to grow that conversation. And the dumpee still, from what I've been told, didn't really know what was going on at this point until the conversation started to get deeper and deeper, and they took it from there. Now that is just one example. I've heard numerous examples of where dumpers apologise for something that they haven't even done. And that's the big point here. This isn't something where they're apologising for something they have done. There are numerous instances where dumpers have obviously done things that they need to apologise for. It's a myth that only dumpees need to apologise. People think, okay, someone has ended a relationship, So if anybody needs to apologise, it's presumably the dumpee, because the dumper is upset about something and ending the relationship. Now, of course, there are going to be some instances where that does fit the mould, but most of the time, both dumper and dumpee are going to have things they probably want to say sorry for in some respect. We're all human, we all make mistakes. So yes, there are going to be situations where the dumper does need to apologise, but this wild way that an ex can show their interest is where they apologise for something they didn't even do. It is a very random way indeed. What I always thought was interesting about this particular example I gave you is that the dumper could have deliberately made this situation realistic. The dumper could have given their dumpee a missed call and then sent the text. They could have done what they apologised for, but they didn't. They just sent a text saying, I'm sorry for giving you a missed call, or whatever they actually said in the exact words that they gave the dumpee, and the dumpee's thinking, well, there was nothing there. That is a real crazy way. It's a wild way of showing their interest. The dumper obviously wanted to showcase their interest, didn't know how, didn't know what to say, and then cooked up this idea which sounds so random. And if it wasn't for the fact that I've heard similar situations a number of times, I'd be thinking, well, that is a real weird kind of way. Surely nobody else would think of such a way. And although I've not heard of an instance where somebody has used the missed call lie, the missed call apology, I've not heard that specific example again from there. I have heard lots of different examples of dumpers apologising for something that they didn't even really do. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is wrong person communication. Now this is where the dumper will reach out to the dumpee whilst pretending they're trying to contact someone else. Now this can happen in a few different ways. First of all, it could be via text message. They send you, the dumpee, a text message, but it's clearly written in a way where it's aimed at someone else. Although, deep down, they are deliberately messaging you. They know they're messaging you. They want to message you. They don't know how to communicate. And this is why this wild way takes place. So you as a dumpee receive a text. You read it, and you think, this makes no sense. This clearly isn't for me. Of course, it actually really is, but this isn't for me. And what do most people do when they receive such a text? They'll reply and say, hey, just to let you know, I think you sent this to the wrong person. And this can be particularly effective if the dumper has changed their number since the breakup, because the dumpee won't even know who it is sending the text. They get this random message, they don't recognise the number, and therefore they're probably in some respects even more likely to reply if they know it's their ex. They might be a bit wary. However, if you want to get your ex back, as a dumpee, you would probably jump on this even if you knew it was your ex, even if you knew and recognised it was their number still. So you as a dumpee, you get a text and it's saying something along the lines of, hey, so-and-so, how's it going or whatever. And you are not that person. The person I mentioned in the text, it's not you. It's not aimed at you in that regard. And therefore the dumpee likely replies, says, hey, I think you got the wrong number. And the conversation will then likely grow from there. But this isn't the only way that the wrong person communication style of reaching out can take place. It can also be via an actual call. So it's not just about texting. It could be a call. Now, if the dumper is feeling particularly anxious, they will likely do this very late at night. Now, this, again, is for a couple of reasons. The first of which, if they do it at night, the dumpee is probably less likely to actually answer the phone. Now, you might think, well, how does that help? How does it help if they don't answer the phone? Well, it allows the dumper to leave a voicemail. This can be very effective. Again, the dumper will be speaking on the voicemail as if they're talking to someone else. They are speaking as if the message they want to leave is for someone else deliberately, although we know the real deliberate ploy here is they want to leave their dumpee a message of some description and hope the dumpee gets back to them. So the dumper might leave a message, even though it's saying it's to someone else. They might possibly sound a little bit distressed. They might be drunk. That might actually be the reason why they're doing it as well, because feeling drunk is lowering their inhibitions in that regard. But even if they're not really, really drunk, they might almost pretend they are drunk as a way to try and get the dumpee to check up on them and make sure they're okay. Now, this voicemail is often likely to be somewhat confusing to try and intrigue the dumpee to respond by contacting the dumper and saying, hey, are you all right? I've got this voicemail. I don't think it was aimed at me, but are you okay? Now, another reason why the voicemail may be left late at night, similar to being drunk, once we get later in the day, generally, for most people, people's inhibitions do start to lower the more tired we get. And also, we likely become more reflective as the day goes on just before bed. And it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back about making the dumper wanting to reach out. So that could be the case in that regard. But sometimes a dumper will have the confidence to call their dumpee and do it at a time that they're fairly confident the dumpee will answer. However, they will still play the game of claiming they're trying to call someone else. And that can be even more hilarious when the dumpee answers the call and the dumper not only has deliberately called their dumpee, but they've heard their dumpee's voice say hello, and yet they still will go into that opening sentence trying to claim and make out they're speaking to someone else before the dumpee says, hey, what's going on? And then the conversation will move into a more natural progression with the dumper saying, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you. But how are you? And this is how that communication can then get more on track. It's a real wild way that dumpers reach out in this respect, but it does happen. I've heard it numerous times of dumpers showing their interest by pretending to contact someone else rather than their dumpee, and then using that as an opportunity to try and grow a conversation. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website, www.dateme.tips, for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is the fake present. Now, in today's podcast, we're speaking about wild ways that your ex can show their interest, and often they don't come any more wild than this way. And this is the fake present. This is where the dumper will deliberately buy you the dumpee a present, buy you a gift, and then claim they already had it for you, and then use that as a reason to reach out. So let me talk you through it. Let's just imagine that your birthday is approaching, or maybe Christmas is approaching, or maybe anything in which ordinarily you would exchange gifts. Okay? There is a day on the calendar coming up where you, when you were together, would have received a present from your ex, the dumper. But you've been broken up a while. You've been broken up maybe a few months, maybe even longer. And so you, as a dumpee, are absolutely not expecting a present from your ex, the dumper. Now, the truth of the matter is that your ex, the dumper, doesn't have you a gift. They don't have a present for you. Why would they have got one so soon before your birthday, before Christmas, before whatever? Remember, we're saying that you've been broke up a number of months. Okay, you've been broke up a number of months and your birthday's round the corner. So why would they have got you a gift so soon, so early, during the time you were together? Well, the likelihood is they haven't. The likelihood is there is no present, there is no gift. But all of a sudden, you receive a text from your ex, the dumper, a few days before your birthday, a few days before Christmas, saying in their own words, hey, just to let you know that I already have a present for you, and I'm just kind of wondering, would you still want it? Because I've already bought it, would you still want it? And this, as a dumpee receiving this contact, especially if you want to try to get your ex back, can be incredibly exciting. Of course, you would like a gift from your ex. Of course, you would like to meet up to receive the gift from your ex. This is like all of your Christmases in one, if you excuse the pun. So what happens in this instance? Well, the dumper is reaching out because they do miss their ex. They want to reach out. They want to reconnect. This is a sign. It's a wild sign that a dumper is finding interest, intrigue, wonder about their dumpee. The dumper wants to reconnect but doesn't know how. and then cooks up this elaborate scheme where they buy a present they didn't actually already have, then pretend they've had it since the time you two were still together, and say, hey, I've had it all this time, but I'm just thinking it's just sitting here, you may as well have it. And then once they get to the point of actually realizing that they miss you, it could be 6-7 months down the line, they now realize it was a mistake ending the relationship. They think, right, how can I reach out to my dumpee? I've got no idea what to do for the best. How about I buy a present, then text them, claim I've had it all of these months, and ask if they would like to meet up so I can give them it? That is a wild, crazy reason. And you might think, well, what's the likelihood of this happening? I've heard of it numerous times. I've heard of this numerous times in slightly different guises of how a dumper has bought their dumpee a present on the reasoning that they're going to then send a text and try and create a meetup. Now you might think, well, how do we know they legitimately didn't have this all this time? Well, in some instances, we have no actual proof, but we can just use our common sense. Why would a dumper have a present for their dumpee, let's say, for instance, 7-8 months ago? Why would they have that present sitting here all that time? The likelihood is it's not the case. But there are some instances where dumpers actually admit to the dumpee once reconnection has taken place, almost in a laughing way, like, just to let you know, I've been missing you for a little while now. I didn't know what to do or how to reach out. So the present I said I've had all this time, I actually bought you it like a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes dumpers have actually admitted this, and therefore we can guarantee it's a possibility. Other times they might never admit it, but we just use our common sense and say, look, the likelihood is they haven't had this all this time, and therefore this has been a deliberate ploy and they've used the fake present.